Hello, everyone out there in YouTube land. Hey, it's Dr. Amanda with Straightsmile Solutions, straightsmilesolutions.com, and this is not a orthodontic facing video. Ooh, we got some diversity. I wanted to make this video because I'm really open to you guys about all aspects of dentistry, all aspects of orthodontics, not just the clinical, things you might experience. And I feel like there's a lack of wise elders, and I don't feel like I'm an elder at all, but it seems like people are starting to turn to me like one. So maybe I need to start being a little more wise. I don't know. Um, I think there was an abundance of advice that was given to me when I was younger. I probably didn't listen as much, but I don't know that y'all are getting the advice that I'm getting. So, anyways, I kind of went down this rabbit hole as I always do with Straightsmile Solutions. Someone tells me, hey, have you looked into this product, this system? Have you looked into this? Maybe you can make some content on this. And I started to get and really notice patterns. And one of the patterns I started to notice is a lot of doctors coming to me just feeling really run down by 40s, 45, 50, 55, definitely more like 40s, I would say. Really starting to dislike dentistry, really starting to second guess their choice to go into dentistry. And it really makes me sad, especially now that we are taking out we are upending our lives to take out these student loans to bet on a career that will sustain us, support our families, hope our body will stay intact enough to be able to do this, that our fingers will work, our wrists will work, our neck will work, our back will work, our eyes will work. It's actually really scary. I mean, it is, right? And along the way, I started talking to some doctors about neurodiversity. I honestly really didn't know what that was. I mean, I did, but in my gut, I'm being as real as I can with you guys. In my gut, it was like an eye rolling thing for me, like, ew. So sorry. Sound like Jimmy Kimmel, but Jimmy Fallon, where he does that skit on SNL. But I'm like, ew, yuck. It just seems like it's like a cool thing right now. Anything that's cool, I don't want to do. So anything that's trendy, anything that it looks like people want to do because they want to get something. And that really is what us older people think. I mean, I hate to say it and I hate to put myself in that category, but we really think or thought, or a lot of people think, even my own husband thinks this, and a lot of my family members, this is just a way to attention seek or to get drugs, literally, or to get out of doing things. I've heard, or to be able to have an inappropriate pet and take it places. Okay, so literally those four things. Okay, so with that in mind, I basically, and up until about a year ago or a year or two ago, my attitude was, yes, I've seen profoundly neurodivergent kids before in my practice, and yes, those people deserve the attention and the whatever they need, whatever they need to be able to get the services that they need. I mean, and I sometimes a regular orthodontic or dental office is not the right place. I mean, for profoundly neurodivergent kids who have sensory issues and other stuff, but it can be made that way. So I get that. I do have family members that fall in those categories. I'm not going to say who they are, but in any case, I know that. Okay, so but I really felt that a lot of this was BS, to be honest. Like, and I've seen enough teenagers, and I'm not gonna say who they are, that a lot of times say they are, and they push for this diagnosis so that they can either take tests untimed or get an opportunity to get out of certain type of stuff, and they're perfectly capable of doing the work. And or they want access to stimulants, and then they sell the stimulants. And I literally know of people who do this, past and present. Going back 10, 20 years, currently. I'm not saying anyone I really know, but I know of people that do this. Anyways, all right. So that being said, yes, I thought it was woke. I knew that there was people who was really needed, but I felt like it was blown out of proportion. And I'm sure the vast majority of those who are listening to this video who are over 40 completely agree with me. And the only reason I wanted to be really transparent here, not to get haters, is because that's how most people think, okay? And we're not going to be able to change things for people unless we all understand the truth. And it took me getting knocked down on my booty to be able to realize I was wrong. And I'm here to make this video to admit I was so wrong. So that's why I'm eating my humble pie, And I'm coming out here and I'm airing I'm not gonna say the dirty laundry because I think this is awesome laundry. I'm airing my awesome laundry to all of the world, and my family will see it, and my kids, and once I know this stuff goes up, this stuff goes up. So this is taking a little bit of cojones for me to be able to put up. Okay, so what happened? So I started going through this neurodivergence testing because I was dared basically by some followers and said, hey, have you checked this out? Or have you thought about this? Or have you thought about, we talk a lot about personality testing within offices to try to make sure we got the right people, and everybody knows how people, think and click and tick, so that you can get the right groups together and then you have the right expectations and everyone's in the right role. So I've made content on that before, but then it came out to, well, what about neurodivergence testing? And then even my husband started mentioning to me like, oh, people are being, applicants are being much more forthcoming about their neurodivergence. I don't really know what to do about this. So I have made another blog and done some other stuff. Ultimately, you got to consult your own dental practice act, whatever your own office policy is on this, okay? Because again, I still have some of the same opinions I had before after seeing it in offices, but whatever. Okay, but there are legitimately people who are not making this up. And the ones who are not making this up are probably the ones that are suffering the most. And that is what I want to talk about. So, okay, so let me give you guys a little bit of background. So what is neurodivergence? And this is getting pulled off ChatGPT. So if you don't like it, blame ChatGPT, do your own research. Neurodivergence in adults encompasses a range of neurological differences, including things like ASD or autism spectrum disorder, ADHD, dyslexia. There's also other neurodivergent conditions, including dyspraxia, dyscalculia, Tourette syndrome, synesthesia, and other OCD and other type of things. So this is what I have learned. I have learned that people think that neurodivergence comes from vaccines or environmental. Actually, right now, it's almost 100% proven that it is genetic and quite dominant, actually. I don't know if it is autosomal dominant, but me now in the land of this has realized that it's pretty darn dominant, and you can track it back out. I guarantee you pretty much everyone over 40 is not diagnosed. They have probably, like me, they have no idea. They had no idea. People would start pointing some stuff out. I was like, what the heck are you talking about? But in any case, if you've got one member in your family, you probably have many more. So that's all I want to say. So one official diagnosis means many, many more. Have fun. Yeah, it's definitely been pretty entertaining trying to figure out who got it and who don't. And I think pretty much everybody got it, but we'll just leave that the way it is. I don't want to start something. Okay, so how does this affect me? And I mean, if you've listened to my video on my About Me page and stuff like that, I talk about, how I started in orthodontics, and I loved orthodontics, like loved it. And I can tell you guys quite honestly, when I went to dental school, I was like, I think I made a mistake. Like, I'm not interested in this. I like the health part. I love all this histology and I love all this. Like, yes, please, more of this. But this whole like drilling teeth, what the heck did I get myself into? Then we took our first ortho class, and I was like obsessed, like literally like obsessed. Like I would read the chapters over and over and over again, and it clicked. And I saw other people in my class, they're like, they didn't quite get it. They're like, what? Sagittal AP, you do this happens, you do that happens. They didn't get it. I was like, I get it. And this is awesome. Like, this is, year one, this is what I'm doing. There's no other options. It's this or bust. And I just went all in on ortho, and luckily it worked out. But that's that, But what I want to talk about is if you get a staff member or even a doctor who mentions they are neurodivergent, first of all, it's not their job to give you their complete diagnosis. So they could just say I'm neurodivergent, and there's no reason that they have to give you the diagnosis or the details, and I certainly won't be doing that with people. But here's some of the benefits of having a neurodivergent person in your office. First of all, they actually often have, when they are fully functional. So what I have to say is once you realize that you are, and you learn how to use the tools that you have maybe differently than you already had. And a lot of people now are born and they're diagnosed early, and sometimes they're given medications to suppress the tools, and sometimes so they can function more in society, and sometimes they learn to use the tools and pivot. And I think a long time ago, there's always been neurodivergent people in society. I mean, this is nothing new. This is not a new thing that vaccines are causing. Going back thousands and thousands of years, forever. It is actually a type of evolutional diversity, is what they're saying. And the D word, I know you guys hate the D word, but evolutional diversity. The idea is that there's always been neurodivergent population within populations to help include diversity, because they have, for the most part, very attuned senses. So a neurodivergent person usually has either much better hearing, much better smelling, much better vision, all the senses, like proprioception, stuff like that, like attuned. You know, and even when I was pregnant, it was like even 30 times more. Like I could smell something across the road. Like, you know, if there's a tiny thing on fire, I will smell it. It's still to this day. If there's a tiny little sound, I hear it. And the idea is, even for females, is that you can hear your babies, you can hear danger, stuff like that, right? You can hear animal sounds. So senses are definitely way, way better. But because your senses are so incredibly heightened, basically, and they're saying this is most likely a result of more neurons in your head, more connections, more neurons. We are actually more wired. You know, things move faster, things move quicker, we get stuff quicker. Most of us do. Now, you got to keep in mind that neurodivergent people can have other issues which can affect. So basically, there's no one type of neurodivergence. I mean, it's so many different assortments, not unlike you can have, you know, a Rubik's Cube can go all different ways, right? And so if you have all different types of neurodiversity that you see here, people don't just have one. Sometimes they do, but sometimes they have 2, 3. And depending on what type of treatment you had, or as a kid, or accommodations you had as a kid, or how you were treated in terms of trauma as a kid. And I'm telling you, pretty much everyone 40, 45, 50 and up who has it was probably extraordinarily traumatized as a kid, because in one way you'd be like off the charts brilliant, so they know you're super smart, but the other way you can be considered special education. And honestly, I won't tell you wrong. I mean, that was me. I would on one hand go test for certain things and I would be like Mensa level, and then they're like, well, she's a genius. And then on the other end, I would be put in special ed for spelling, like and like Spanish. They're like, you test special ed level, and I'm with these kids who can, nothing wrong with these kids, but some of them were definitely not like no. I don't think I needed to be with them, but it was just like a testing thing. So you know, they did not know what to do with people like that back then. And there was also a bunch of neurodivergent boys that would run around, and those type of boys were, you know, jumping around in class and couldn't listen and would interrupt, and that wasn't, the girls generally don't present like that. And that's what I would get. Girls, some do, but the vast majority do not. They present completely differently. And I'm not even going to go into too much how I was and how I presented, because you need to kind of understand this yourself. I mean, you should definitely read about it. It took me years and years of reading about it and how it presents in females, and really starting to talk to people to realize what's going on. And then what happens is you get so much negative feedback as a child, you know, and the really smart ones will catch it, and they'll be like, okay, this is not the way I should do things. I should correct and present differently, even though you're wired to present one way. And now, if you know, like if you're one of these people, you understand what I'm saying. And if you're neurotypical, or, you know, you don't understand what I'm saying, so I can't explain it to you. But there are a lot of traits. Again, vast majority of high-functioning neurodivergent people are off the charts intelligence, and they can do things actually at higher levels than other people and quicker. So it's not a bad person to have in your office. You'll probably, if you treat them well, they'll probably get a lot. It'll probably be your best employee, is what I can say. So other things that neurodivergence can do that is better than neurotypical is a lot of creativity and innovation, the ability to hyper-focus, which I definitely have. If I'm like already, I got my noise canceling headphones on, my background music on, I got my coffee, I can bang out like so much work in like an hour. It's not even funny. Like I could easily bang out a day's worth of work in maybe 30 minutes. I mean, not that I don't do this on you guys' work, but I can get a lot done. And that was something even as a kid that I had, that my parents had no idea. I could do my homework in like minutes and get it perfect, and then I would just screw around the rest of the day. So I just didn't want extra work, so they didn't know how quickly I did it. But anyways, I do now. So problem solving skills. So usually a lot of neurodivergent people have math skills and or verbal skills that are beyond normal level. Like, I mean, for example, I'm going to say Elon Musk. We all know he's a neurodivergent. I'm not saying I'm like him, but there is an ability to do a lot of things often at one time if you're rested. But you've seen examples about how also unbalanced you can be if you're not supported. And no matter what you think about politics, I mean, it's just a classic example of what a neurodivergent person can do. They might do some oddball stuff, like, jumping around or whatever weird stuff he did. But, you do have to have a little control. Also adaptability, the ability to think outside the box and things like that. Some of the more negative things might be that you might be more sensitive to sensory stuff. So really bright noises and lights, if they keep going and flashing and strobing, could be really offsetting, and you have a very difficult time functioning in weird settings. Same thing with temperatures. When too many people are talking to you at one time is very, very difficult. So this sounds great, right? What's the problem? This sounds like you'd be a perfect employee, right? Yeah, you are, until you're not. So what actually makes you probably the best dentist, and just creative and ability to talk to everyone. And again, it depends on what assortment of things you have. If you have more, this and this, then you may not be as talkative than if you have this, so it presents differently. So it's great until it's not. And then what starts to happen is that it's almost like your battery, or if I was more technical, I'd maybe explain it in terms of like a computer. It's running on ridiculous amounts of power all day long. It takes so much power. And I'm not just talking about food. I'm talking about just mental energy in order to run your brain, because it is running at a much higher rate of speed than everyone else's is. So you have to be rested. You need way more rest than an average person. And that is one thing that I kind of knew, and actually I knew this in my heart and my soul. Even as a kid, I was the person that, and I know you guys, this is gonna be hella long. I'm assuming all the neurotypicals are gonna click off. And I'm assuming just the neurodivergents, or those people who think they might be, are like, oh my goodness, this girl is speaking to me. I gotta listen. So I'm going to start getting a little more descriptive, because I'm assuming all the neurotypicals dropped off. So, I was definitely one of those kids that could not sleep at a slumber party. That is just one of the early, and by the way, neurodivergence testing, part of it it's not something new. It's something that you've had ever since you were little. It just presents differently depending on your masking or coping strategies and how your support level is. So they'll ask you all these questions and be like, yeah, you're right. So, I always had trouble sleeping. It had to be consistent. You have to have a bedtime routine, even up into high school, go to bed at a certain time every night. And it became harder, in high school, when people going to parties and dances and movies late, and me and late just never worked. I think I would be so dysregulated the next day if I went to bed even at 11, 12, 1, and I'm even like that now, it's gotta be consistent. And that's how they say you should sleep, but most teenagers aren't like old people, right? So that was one thing that I thought was weird, and it made it very difficult in college and even grad school and stuff like that to get the rest that I needed, and still be social and be normal. And even once I had kids and started working, same thing, right? There's lots of demands on you. You come home, you've worked all day, now you've got kids, you've got laundry, and you just basically don't get the rest you need, and you wear yourself down. So after 20, 25, 30 years of fully wearing yourself down, you start to get, physically not that as healthy as you should be. And that's pretty much what happened to me. So I just wore myself down to the point that I was too thin, and I didn't feel good anymore, and I didn't know what was wrong, So push comes to shove, never figured it out, basically what happens is when you're a female and you kind of lightly mention these things to your doctors, I don't feel good. They just try to give you pharma. Oh, you're fine, you're depressed, take a pill. No, that's not what it is. And those things would never work for me. I'm like, this makes me feel worse, So, and you get dismissed over and over again by every doctor. And then you realize when you start going to work that you're great at work. You're a fabulous dentist, and you enjoy it when you're there. But the second you get in the car, you are wiped. You feel like you literally drained, and you don't even recharge. You're just so exhausted, and you just don't have any bandwidth left for your family. And I mean, some people can take a Red Bull, drink something, have a beer, whatever. Nah, it's not like that. And that's why I had to take a break from clinical dentistry. It was draining me too much. And sure, maybe you could work less or do less hours, but that's not going to bring the income that I need. So that's why I kind of started this company, just to try something different, and just kind of bring the joy back to dentistry again. But then I didn't even realize until this year that it really, the cause was neurodiversity, and that you can go in and change things, and then you'll have joy and you can do the regular stuff you need again. It's just a matter of making micro changes. Anyways, I'm not going into that part of it, but I just want to be honest with you guys. And some types of neurodiversity you can be medicated for, and sometimes they help. And depending on your assortment of symptoms and your assortment of neurodiversity diagnoses, sometimes you can't. There's no medication for it. And sometimes the medications that are there, they might treat some of the symptoms, but if you have more than one syndromes together, it can make other ones worse. So to be medication was not an option. What's an option is just keeping myself rested and trying not to get involved with people who make me very upset. Keeping that type of people out of my life, and that includes clients. I've decided as this year, if you are a pain in the ass client, I'm gonna boot you. So I don't need them. So I'm being a little more selective who I take as clients now too, and I will gladly dismiss people who are not pleasant to be around. But anyways, I mean, those are the main things I wanted to tell you. I just wanted to put it out there. If it even helps one person, it's worth it. And I just wanted to talk about testing a little bit as well. This is going to be a nightmare. If you think you want to get tested, I'm just going to warn you. You're going to get about 30 doors shut in your face before you even find one that's open. If you are listening to this message and you're like, gosh, I'd really like to talk to her, I'd really like to know more, I put it out there. You're more than welcome to reach out to me. Just contact me like any other doctor. We can have a chat about this. No, I cannot. I'm not a professional. I can't do anything. I can just listen. But I might be able to tell you more where you can go to get resources. There's a lot of cool Reddit communities. There's a lot of cool Facebook groups. I've really enjoyed getting to know people a little bit more. You have to make sure you have a testing center that is neurodivergent. I would find that pretty much only does neurodivergence testing, because all the other ones, they don't really know, let alone they don't really know how to do adults. And you got to make sure they know how to do adult females. Completely different testing than adult males. Completely different testing than kids and teenagers. And unless they know, and they need to know how to deal with high masking adults. So that's why I have a mask on here. Masking, and I didn't even know this, is a subconscious way that your body, I think I talked about before, that you're a baby, you're a kid, you get feedback, right? No, don't do this. No, don't do that. Well, neurodivergent kids don't understand this a lot. It's hard. Why? Why can't I do this? So a lot of times they are doing things because it's protective. It makes them less anxious, less upset, less scared. And so they might be avoiding that food or something else, or that wearing that sweater, or going to that place because it's too loud or too many lights, because it upsets their body and makes them, like I was saying, feel so sick, but they don't know what it is that's making them feel bad. And that's like what I was trying to tell you. Dentistry, why is it making me feel so sick? Why am I totally fine? I can go hike 10 miles. I can go to the mall with my friends. I can go to a restaurant with people. No problem. But why, when I do a full day of dentistry, do I feel like I've been run over at the end of the day, but I feel fine when I'm there? Like, that doesn't make sense. Honestly, I thought there was like mold in the building or something. I had no idea. So you will subconsciously pivot and change the way you present to try to adapt more. But it requires an incredible amount of electricity to run, not electricity, but power within your brain. And that's why your brain gets worn down. And then cortisol and other hormones start taking over, and you're basically walking around in a fight or flight response 24/7 is the best way I can explain it, at least for me. Like, you are just on cortisol all day long, just everything is extra effort. So weird, right? Anyways, so you have to find the right place to get tested. It is very unlikely your testing will be covered by insurance. It is very likely everyone will dismiss you 1,000 times to try to get tested, and they'll ask you why you're doing it, and they'll say it's fine to self-diagnose. Having the actual diagnosis in writing, I don't know. People, even the testing center was like, do you really need this? It's, you can totally self-diagnose. It's fine. I said, no, I want it. I want a copy of it, because if and when people have given me a hard time about things in my life for 50 years. So I want this paper so I can say, look, I'm not doing this and here's why. And this includes family members, whatever else, it was worth it for me just to like be able to breathe. I mean, would I tell an employer about it? I don't think I'll ever work for someone again. So no. But yeah, I mean, if I was working for an employer, I probably would. I mean, legally they can't fire you for that. It really depends on what state you're in. I don't know. I mean, if they're trying to have you do things that you really can't do, but then you got to realize if you can't do the job that you're hired for, then you probably shouldn't be doing that job, right? So, I mean, I guess for me, the only way that I can think that my neurodiversity diagnosis might come into if I was working for somebody, which I don't see myself ever doing again, but let's just say hypothetically, I would say I would not want late hours. It's not an option for me. I'd be more like an early person. I definitely wouldn't want a full 8-hour day. It's too much for me. And I would have to have the most trained up team. Like I'm picking my team. I get full control over my team. Who's there, who's not. And honestly, if my team doesn't show up, you're canceling and rescheduling the day. Like I'm not working way too many times. And probably what got me the most was that, other people didn't show up. And then here I am like feeling the need to, I'm not going to run late for these families. It's not fair. So I'm going to jump in and I'm going to work overtime, but then that just exhausts you, more than you need to be doing. You're wearing like 5 different hats. So I think in terms of hours and support, it would be a big thing. And also, I know one of the things that really sets me off is I hate dealing with drama. Like that is not me. I hate dealing with drama. Team drama, nah. I know patient drama is part of it, and that's my job as a doctor. I can deal with patient drama for the most part, unless someone's being absolutely ridiculous. But team drama, nah. I don't want to deal with that. Office manager deals with all. I don't want to hear one thing. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. So, putting that work out there, definitely consider doing your self-assessment test first, just to get an idea. I mean, there's so many great, I just watch so many like reels and TikToks, and I know it sounds weird, but like where people, these younger kids, are just giving examples, but they're making it kind of funny. I'm like, okay, yeah, I see that now, right? So it is not a death sentence by any means. Actually, I think it's almost a life happiness thing. Like, it's like, okay, maybe you were always hard on yourself, wondering why you did certain things or why you didn't fit in or why this person didn't like you and you didn't understand, and all of a sudden everything makes sense. You go back in your life and even down to why you made every single decision that someone didn't like makes sense. It's like your body knew what was right for you and was guiding you the whole way, and it's just because of this. And there's nothing wrong with you, and actually you can do things so much better. It just might be that you need to be employed in a different way is what I'm getting at. So, okay, long message. Hopefully it posts. Take care.